Welcome students. In this video, we will discuss chapter 2, the ideals of our constitution. So, let's start. Constitution, as you know, is a written set of laws which tells us about the character of the government, as well as it is a fundamental document, whether in written or in unwritten form, that governs the country. This Constitution of India, in this video we will discuss about the Constitution of India. This Constitution of India was adopted by the Constituent Assembly of India on 26th November 1949, but it came into effect on 26th January 1950, and it is this day which we celebrate as our Republic Day. Now we will see some features of our constitution. The Indian constitution is the longest written and most detailed constitution of the world. And in order to give the people the best possible constitution, the Constituent Assembly, they have incorporated the best features of various constitutions which have taken from, there are some features of our constitution which have been taken from various other constitutions of the world, like the fundamental rights and federal form of government is taken from Constitution of USA. The parliamentary system and single citizenship, that is the parliamentary system of government and single citizenship, has been taken from Constitution of UK. The directive principles of state policy, they have been taken, they were adopted from the Constitution of Ireland. And the 5-year plans and fundamental duties, they were adopted from the Constitution of USSR, former USSR, that is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. This Indian constitution was drafted in 1949, and till that time till today, from that time till today, several changes have taken place in our country, and it is these changes which need to be mentioned, and the constitution needs to be modified because of the changes that have taken place. So the modifications are made through a procedure that is called amendment. So what is amendment? Amendment refers to the change in the existing provisions of constitution through an act, and this amendment needs to be passed by both the houses, that is both the houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and it needs to be approved by the president. Only then the amendments come into action, or they are said to be incorporated in the constitution. Now we have the preamble. The preamble is basically an introductory document that explains the goals of government. It also states the aims and objectives of the constitution, why it is made. Then we have several other features or principles of our constitution. The first one being sovereignty. What is the meaning of being sovereign? Sovereignty means it is the freedom to govern oneself within a given territory and to be free from any external control. All Indians, they are free to govern themselves by means of general elections which are held after a definite time period, and to make laws for themselves. So this is the basic essence of sovereignty. Then we have socialism. So what is socialism? It means that everyone must enjoy social and economic equality. Under social equality, we mean the everyone must have equal status and opportunities. He should be given or provided equal opportunities. And by economic equality, it refers to the equitable distribution of wealth and a decent standard of living for all, a standard of living in which everyone can enjoy at least the basic necessities required for carrying a simple life. Next principle is we have secularism. Secularism states, the preamble actually states that India is a secular country. This means all religions will be treated equally and all religions will be given equal importance. There will be no state religion. This is what secularism means. That is the freedom to profess, to propagate and to practice any religion, provided it should not hurt the feelings of others. That is the basic essence of secularism. Then we have democracy. Democracy, as all of us are very familiar with this term, it refers to a government where the people or the common men, they have the power to vote and elect their representatives to the government, and these representatives, they make the laws on behalf of the people, and this practice of electing the representatives through general election is called universal adult franchise. That is, anyone who has attained the age of 18 years or more can go and cast his or her vote irrespective of any discrimination. Then we have the federalism. What is federalism? It means that our country is governed at two levels, that is at the center and at the state, and the president will be considered the constitutional head of our country. Also we have prime minister, but he heads the government and he is actually the working head of the country, and the parliament is there, which is for making the laws. In the states we have the governor, who is the nominal head, while the chief minister actually governs the heads the government, and he is the working head or real head of the state. Then we have republic. Republic means that the head of state shall not be a hereditary head, and instead he should be chosen by the public. He should be chosen by the public for a definite term. Like in India we have the president, which is elected for a term of 5 years. So India is considered to be a democratic republic. This means democracy means the choice of people to elect their representatives, and republic means the head will not be a hereditary ruler or hereditary administrator. He needs to be elected by the common people. That's why India is considered a democratic republic country. India also aims to secure the idea of justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. So let's have a look to all these ideas. Justice implies that individuals, they should get what is due to them, what is due to him or her. It means whatever is wrong, it should be set right. Then we have liberty. It indicates absence of any subjective restraints on individual freedom. That is, no such hindrances or obstacles should be there on individual freedom for his or her development. Then we have equality. Equality implies or indicates the spirit of all people who are born equal. It means that everyone is equal and he or she should get equal opportunities. Then we have fraternity. This fraternity indicates the spirit of brotherhood that is essential to maintain the unity of nation. Now we will study about the fundamental rights, which is the most important part of our constitution. The part 3 of our constitution has given some fundamental rights. Basically there are 6 fundamental rights which are to be practiced, and these rights are justiciable. That is, if any violation is done, then a person can move to a court of law for the remedy when he finds that his or her fundamental rights are getting violated even by the government or by a person. Now we will study about all these rights one by one. The right to equality, the very first right, according to the Article 14 to 18, the Constitution has declared that all citizens are equal and they are equal before law and no one will be discriminated against law. No one will be discriminated on the grounds of religion, race, caste, gender, or place of birth. It also applies in matters of education and employment. That is, the girls, they cannot be deprived on the grounds of gender, that they can't go for getting higher education or they cannot get educated. Then we have the right to freedom. The right to freedom, according to Article 19 to 22, the democracy cannot exist without individual freedom. So our constitution has guaranteed the different freedoms to promote the ideal of liberty and brotherhood. According to this right to freedom, all citizens of India, they have right to freedom of speech and expression, means they can feel, they can speak what they feel, but it should not hurt the feeling of others. The citizens of India, they can assemble peacefully but without arms or weapons. They can form associations and unions for their benefit. They can move freely throughout the territory. That's why we can go from Delhi to Shimla without any document. So it is because of the right to freedom. So they can move freely throughout the territory of the country. They can reside and settle in any part of India. Who? The Indian citizens. Why? Because of the right to freedom which is mentioned in the Constitution, to be enjoyed by the common people or the common citizens of India. The persons, they can practice any profession and carry on any occupation, trade or business, but it should be according to the social and legal norms. The right to free and compulsory education is also included in this right to freedom. Now we will study about right against exploitation. This right against exploitation is given in the articles 23 and 24, and it abolishes the buying and selling of humans and for other forms of forced labor. Also, the employment of children below 14 years of age is prohibited in this right. Then we have the right to freedom of religion. It is, this right confers to the secular feature which is mentioned in the Constitution. So right to freedom of religion means India being secular, there will be no state religion, and this right is mentioned in articles 25 to 28 of the Constitution of India. There will be no state religion and every religion will be given equal respect by the India or as a nation. Then we have cultural and educational rights. This right is given in Article 29 and 30 of the Indian Constitution. According to this right, everyone has the right to develop and preserve their culture. People belonging to different communities, they can have the right to establish their own educational institutions, and the government also helps such institutions and encourages the development of cultural activities. Then we have the right to constitutional remedies. This right is actually given. Sometimes what happens, the government may on certain occasions violate our fundamental rights. So this right is given as a safeguard to protect the violation of the fundamental rights. The right to constitutional remedy protects the rights, and whatever sort of violation is done, the right to constitutional remedy protects the citizens against any such violation, and they can go and file a lawsuit against the government in the respective higher courts. Then we have the directive principles of state policy. The directive principles of state policy are actually given in the part 4 of our constitution, and these are the guidelines which are given to the government to ensure the welfare of people. These are called the directive principle of state policy. These are the directives to promote just social order. It's a just social order, that is, the social dignity should be maintained by the government while framing and implementing policies. Then we have the fundamental duties. See, rights, they cannot exist in isolation, so rights and duties, they are interrelated, and to make a person understand value of rights, the persons are obliged to perform certain duties. For this purpose, the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 added some responsibilities for the citizens to enjoy the fundamental rights, and these responsibilities are known as the fundamental duties. Now, what are the fundamental duties which one has to follow? As a citizen, the fundamental duties include the respect to be shown to our national symbols, that is our national flag, our national anthem. We should always show respect to our national symbols. Second, there should be respect and there should be following of ideals like democracy, non-violence, secularism, because these ideals were followed by our freedom fighters during national movement, and that led to the emergence of a free, independent, democratic country, India, which we are living. So we should respect and follow these ideals of democracy, non-violence and secularism. Third, we should protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of our country. That's all we have in this video. The chapter is complete. In the coming videos, we will discuss some new chapters. Thank you. Have a nice day.